Welcome to Real Success Stories. My name is John Wadsworth, President of Strawn & Company Insurance. I'll be your host as we bring you exciting content featuring exceptional individuals and organizations. Throughout my professional career, I've witnessed many talented people build successful businesses and significantly impact their communities. We will now have the opportunity to bring these stories to you. We will have the privilege of speaking with business owners and highly successful individuals who are involved in a wide variety of industries. We will see success defined in many different ways. Our guests will share their stories of how they built their businesses to reveal strategies that you can duplicate in your endeavors. We will get to experience the human side of success as we identify the challenges and obstacles that entrepreneurs endure. We will see the thin line that separates giving up from true success. Along the way, we'll have the opportunity to speak with nonprofit organizations that are creating opportunities for success in their communities. Another goal of this program is to give these great organizations broader exposure and awareness to help continue their success. As a listener, we hope you feel encouraged to support the organizations that we feature. Through this open and honest forum, we aim to build community and foster success among all who wish to pursue their dreams. You will hear real success stories of people just like you and me. Thanks for listening. Check back regularly for new episodes and make it a great day. Hello and welcome to this episode of Real Success Stories. I'm John Wadsworth, President of Strawn & Company Insurance, and I'll be your host as we have the opportunity to speak with a wide variety of guests as they tell their stories of success. Today we are very excited to welcome Executive Director Sandra Richardson and Volunteer and Activities Coordinator Bill Cox of A Friend's House, the only children's nonprofit group home here in Henry County. Sandra, Bill, thanks so much for joining us today. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, I believe a number of our listeners will be familiar with A Friend's House, particularly our Henry County listeners. For those that may not be familiar, Sandra, will you tell us a little bit about A Friend's House and tell us about your background, how long you've been with A Friend's House?
Well, A Friend's House is a nonprofit residential long-term group home in Henry County, of course, and we service youth who are in defects custody. And unfortunately, due to the nature of our business, we've served nearly 2,200 youth who have experienced trauma and abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Youth can usually stay at a friend's house for an unspecified period of time. Those youth, while living there, will receive services such as medical care, dental care, therapeutic counseling, even academic support. Some of our youth who are old enough to receive job readiness training. And, the organization started out in 1998 as a 12-bed limited stay emergency facility. We eventually increased our stay and our bed space to 24 in the year 2008. And this was due to a much needed increase to service teenagers and sibling groups.
Wow, so that's quite an expansion over the time that the organization has been serving here in the community. With that, obviously the need for these services is something that is unfortunate, but to have a group that has responded to that need and has stepped out to address that need, what do you attribute the ability that A Friend's House has developed to fill those needs?
Well, for us, it's usually our goals to create a positive change and a positive opportunity, in the lives of the children. We want to draw people into our mission. So simply, we believe, just like our mission statement states, we believe that all children should have a loving and caring and safe environment, no matter what the circumstances that they've encountered.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Sandra, how long have you been with A Friend's House?
Well, I've been with A Friend's House for a little over 22 years. I'm approaching my 23rd year anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So prior to that, did you have a professional background in the nonprofit world, or completely unaffiliated, or?
Well, it's funny that you would ask that, John. I actually began my career with youth in schools, and I was a behavior aide for self-contained EBD youth, which led me to wanting to help a friend's house. I learned about the startup of a friend's house, moved my interest toward that actual, entity. And then, of course, in 1998, like I had mentioned before, I became a part of that vision and joined a friend's house. Actually, the day they opened, I was there to receive the first two youth that came there.
Wow, that's quite amazing, and I think, speaking on behalf of the community, thank you for your service.
Right, well.
But that's amazing that you've been there from the start.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. Well, Bill, how long have you been involved in serving at a friend's house?
John, I've been there a little over a year, actually. My background has primarily been education, and I actually kind of retired and couldn't take it, so I went back and looking for a job, and I started at a friend's house as a group leader there, which was basically direct care for the residents in our care. And then the current volunteer coordinator, she left, and it's something that I'd had experience in at a previous position, and everything just worked out that I moved into that position June the 1st of last year, and I love it. I love it. A friend's house is a great place to be a part of. It really is. It's we're a big family, and I mean, that's how Miss Sandra likes to have everything. We're a big family and a big team that we work together very well.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, speaking of a big family and a big team, particularly when you're speaking about a nonprofit, what has the role been for not only the staff but your board? I'm assuming your board is made up of volunteers. So what has that role been, and how have the boards and the cycling through of board members over the years, how is that attributed to the success in completing the mission of a friend's house?
Well, we have an awesome board, and it consists of 13 actively participating members.
Keyword.
Who just they have careers outside of course, their volunteer status. But however, one thing I would like to mention is our board chair, Ms. Arbor Kikawee, who is the owner of Southern Grace Hospice, and she is just so motivational, not only among just the board members, but our staff in general. So having that fixture among us of people who just, it's their passion. It's what they thrive to do, is make change and make a difference. And I must say that our board is so engaged and involved, there's just no way around, when you work with them, that you can't feel that and you can't get involved too. So from the standpoint of having a wonderful group of folks who can just bring it forward and pay it forward, you couldn't ask for a better group as far as the board.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And in my experience with nonprofit organizations in particular, the board is such a critical piece. And you use that word active. Having
Yes.
an active board. And a board that is passionate about the mission of the organization, and hopefully we have some other executive directors or other volunteers listening to us, and hopefully they'll take that message back to their boards and their organizations and say, hey, if we want to replicate what a friend's house has accomplished, it's going to take 100% buy-in.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. Well, one of the things that I think, particularly a lot of our listeners who do live or are local to Henry County, are familiar with is the Taste of Henry event. Of course, we may have a few listeners who are not familiar with it or may not be familiar with the tie-in of a Taste of Henry with a friend's house. So if you will, share with us, what the event is, what it does for the organization, and maybe a little bit of the history of the event, because it's really become a social event for Henry County.
Oh, yes, the iconic Taste of Henry. That event began, it was 19 years ago. It was our annual fundraiser. It benefited a friend's house. The event featured several local restaurants and food vendors showcasing, their culinary delights. So, people would come from miles and, not just Henry County residents, but we have received calls at the agency asking for instructions on how to get to the Jason T. Harper Event Center to attend Taste of Henry. So, it's all about family and fun, and people would, pay to get a taste or, a size portion of some food. And over the years, this event has grown from up to 30 plus restaurants and vendors who participate. So since the birth of the event in 2001, it's became a major desire for many of our residents and guests to experience the Taste of Henry event.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We're proud of that.
Justifiably so. Justifiably so.
Yeah.
It's something that, whether you see the billboard or you hear the ad on local radio or the promotions on social media,
Right.
Everybody knows it's time for Taste of Henry, and it really get excited about it and get behind it. Kind of pivoting off of that, one of the things that I think is key to any organization's success, whether it's a for-profit organization or a nonprofit organization, is the ability to adapt and overcome challenges. And of course, it's here we are. As of this recording, folks will be hearing this in April of 2021. We're sitting here in mid-March of 2021 at the time of the recording. And obviously, COVID is first and foremost on most people's minds. So how has COVID impacted your ability to raise funds, to maintain your mission, and how have you coped or adapted to those challenges?
So with COVID, it impacted us in various ways. We found that with COVID, there were some pros and there were some cons. So the cons, of course, were we were restricted from our ability to work alongside our volunteer base. We were limited in our face-to-face community involvement, and I know that Mr. Bill can attest to that and share some of the experiences that we had from the lack of activities, that our youth could participate in. We had to be creative and think about how we were going to not only be confined to the home life, but keep our youth active and keep their minds going. We were restricted on the number of youth that we were even able to help because of the tracing and isolation that took place and prevented us, from, it basically was a prevention for spreading COVID. And we understood that, but we were worried about the youth who were out there that we couldn't help, that were trying to escape abuse and neglect and those traumas that come along with that. But of course, there were the pros. There was the positive side, and no one could ever imagine that a pandemic would give you a positive side, but we were able to learn how to increase our media platform.
Yeah.
our social media. We learned so much from Zoom to meetings, that there were other ways to communicate with people that we never imagined. We were allowed to grow in areas such as virtual fundraising and development. And that was quite a hair-raising and wonderful experience in itself. So, and we were pushed in a whole new mist of how to do business as a nonprofit. We, over the years, with me being at a friend's house for so long, had to come out of that shell of being just in one way of thinking, or we do it this way. We had to come up with more innovative ways on how we were going to appeal to a newfound audience that couldn't see us, couldn't touch us, but they still wanted to stay in touch.
Yes, ma'am. Well, that's great, and I think that's encouraging, particularly, the thought that the virtual fundraising has been successful. That's tremendous news. I think it's a testament to the efforts of the staff and the board, but then also a testament to the community's buy-in, to the organization and their belief in the organization's mission. So that
Exactly.
is wonderful. Well, what can folks look forward to in the near future from a fundraising standpoint with a friend's house, particularly as we are still somewhat limited in our ability to gather?
Well, basically, we are going to continue our annual fundraisers, and we look forward to returning to Taste of Henry. That's one of our larger fundraisers, and we're excited about that. I can't guarantee a date, but it is on our map that we want to return to Taste of Henry. And then another experience that we gave our volunteers, our listeners, and all of our donors was the virtual gala. That was a very successful, fun event, and we hope to collaborate not only with having a virtual gala in the near future, but a face-to-face gala that would merge with that. So we look forward to that. And one of the events that people probably aren't aware of, we put in place this past year with COVID-19 limiting us, was we did a Taste of Henry cookbook. And that was to promote Taste of Henry and to keep our donor base and keep our volunteers and keep our vendors focused on the fact that, this special edition cookbook is to basically just keep people alive and keep, the brand alive.
Certainly.
So we put out 1,500 special edition Taste of Henry cookbooks. They were sold all throughout the county at various vendors, and we took a donation. It wasn't even a sale. It was just give a donation, and your donation will benefit a friend's house and our mission. So that was one way that we kept our community involved in Taste of Henry.
For those that may be interested or may ask, are there any of those cookbooks still available? Are they sold out, or?
Absolutely. We have more available, and for anyone that would be interested in making a donation and receiving a cookbook, they can get in touch with Mr. Bill or they can go into our website, which is, I'm going to share this again later, but it's afriendshouse.org. And just give us a call at, our local number, and that number is 678-432-1630. And just let, our receptionists know that you're interested in making a donation and receiving a cookbook, and we will definitely get you a Taste of Henry cookbook too.
All right, folks, get your cookbooks.
Yes.
So along those same lines, for folks wanting to keep up, who want to keep up with news as it comes up on A Taste of Henry, Does A Taste of Henry maintain its own web presence, social media presence, separate from a friend's house? Is it all through a friend's house?
It's through a friend's house, but you can also go to your local Chamber of Commerce website, which it will be posted there as well.
Yes, ma'am.
But if anyone just goes to the Friends House website, there is a link on there for Taste of Henry.
Excellent.
We'd also have a link on our Facebook page, too.
Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. Well, that's good to know. You know, that way folks hop on the Facebook, like it, follow it. That way when news pops up, you'll be the first to receive it and to keep up with these great opportunities to support, you know, this great organization. When talking about community involvement and community support, let's talk a little bit about that dynamic from two standpoints. Number one is the dynamic of what does a friend's house do to step out into the community to say, hey, we're here, and to tell your story. But then also, what is the importance of the community in supporting a friend's house?
From a volunteer standpoint, John, we have weekend meals that we ask the volunteers in the community to help us provide. We do not have any weekend kitchen staff, and so we have been so fortunate with probably receiving over 90% of our weekend meals from the community. We use Sign Up Genius on our Facebook page, and it's just a very simple process that says, you know, I want to provide Saturday breakfast. And, we put in there, we've got 15, 18 young people, and so people will be signing up, and we've had a great response there. We were a little concerned about Christmas and birthdays because we had volunteers also doing that, but we actually had a surplus of volunteers wanting to help provide Christmas presents for our youth and provide birthday presents for them also. So it was really great to see how the community stepped up to help us. Plus, with the challenges of COVID-19, we still had donations coming in, and we needed help sorting those, and we've got a clothing closet for the kids. And so we had some sponsors and some volunteers step up and say, hey, I want to come and help. We'll take the COVID-19 precautions. We'll take your temperature. We'll wear a mask. We'll social distance and things like that. And since the kids have been out of school and been doing it virtually, we couldn't do that to the extent that we'd like to. But they're back in school now, so we have a group of volunteers that are coming in and helping us do those things.
That's wonderful.
It's really great to see how everybody just says, I know y'all are having challenges right now, and I want to come in and help.
So one thing I think would be great to share with folks, based on what I've been told, is going back to the breakfast program. That's a very easy thing to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but particularly with COVID, but also with respect to safety, for the kids and things of that nature, it's a drop-off.
Basically, so yes.
So you could prep a breakfast and bring it in. You could buy X number of biscuits from your favorite morning breakfast
That's
spot,
right.
And bring it by. So it's something a church group could do, another local civic group could do, a family could do it.
Right.
And it's a very easy way to support a friend's house. It's not please come at 4:00 in the morning and spend 4 hours in the kitchen. It's very easy. It's very easy to do.
That's so true, John. I want to add to what you're saying about, just a simple way to do breakfast. The local nonprofits that are participating in the cereal challenge. I think it's a 300-box cereal challenge I've been reading about, and a friend's house has always been a recipient of this, the cereal that's collected from the cereal challenge. But I also want to add that in my experience and my time in being at a friend's house, you mentioned biscuits, and I have to share the story of, there was a senior citizen, and I've shared this with Mr. Bill many times, a senior citizen lady that I don't even remember her name, but for years, this sweet lady came to a friend's house every third Saturday morning, and she brought something as simple as canned biscuits with the sausage stuffed in them, a sausage patty, and a couple of bags of, everybody thinks about the white powdered Little Debbie donuts that leave the white powder ring around your mouth, and orange juice. That was the breakfast for champions. You would have thought that the kids had hit a gold mine. When that Saturday rolled around and she dropped off and delivered that simple breakfast, it made everybody's day. So just something that simple. When you mention biscuits, from your favorite local restaurant, just a can of biscuits with a sausage patty stuffed in it is just as good.
Yep, and that's what it's about. And I love that what you shared there is how that simple act didn't just make one person's day. It made a building full of people's day.
Yes.
And that's a testament to the organization, to those that support the organization, again, in doing something good for others. So thanks. Yeah, that's a great story. That is a great story. What role, and this might be a good spot as well to recognize possibly some other organizations, civic organizations, nonprofit organizations in the county, but what role do they play in collaborating with a friend's house to, again, accomplish your mission?
I can really share that. We're extremely proud of the accomplishments made by our Friends House in the past years, and we have plans to continue to grow and in unity with our community. We couldn't prevent child abuse without the help of all the people who are involved and share that vision in our community. The community plays a huge role in the growth of our program because I know for a fact, I can share a personal story. I participated in the class of 2019, Leadership Henry. And that class was instrumental in helping us to remodel an entire section of a friend's house at no cost to a friend's house. It was through donations and collection of funds and just materials and even down to the furniture. They remodeled an area, and it was a project to construct a much-needed supervised practice transitional living suite. And this suite was dedicated primarily to youth who are 18 and older. And when we think about youth and children, we sometimes don't think about the pre-adult or adult-like children who also need, a hand up. So this suite today is being utilized by two of our older youth who are transitioning, hopefully, to the adult world in the very near future. They'll be attending college, they'll be getting jobs, and they have the opportunity to stay at a friend's house and receive support and help just a little bit longer after graduating high school or whatever. And this way we can sow those seeds, plant, the knowledge and the skills that they're gonna need to go out and positively impact their community. So that's, one way that we know that we have the community play a huge success in our program at a friend's house.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What about, some things that, are planned for the future? Obviously, going back to the earlier portion of the conversation, we may still have a few limits on us due to COVID, but, are there any news or anything coming down the pipe that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, of course. I know Mr. Bill has just been very excited with all the changes and everything that's been going on, and he does a lot of postings for us in our growth, and So some exciting things. We're in the midst of what I've mentioned probably early on in this podcast is we are in the midst of a total renovation of our building, lots of upgrades going on. Our web page has been redesigned to make it more user-friendly. Especially during COVID, we had time to do that. And expanding our program services. We're offering more therapeutic services to our youth because we believe in informed trauma care, and we want to make sure that our youth are set to not be re-traumatized after, they've entered our program. And I'm excited because of the growth of the program. And as I've mentioned before, when you're in a program for so long, as I have served, we've never had our very own on-site clinical staff. And we have been able to add a clinical director, which will offer the youth on-site therapeutic services now. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest exciting piece for me. And I don't know, Mr. Bill, do you have an exciting piece?
I just think as of, when I started compared to the way things are now, it's just, there's such excitement among the staff and the kids. They're coming in and it's like, wow, this is really nice stuff. And I think it changes their whole attitude that, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm at a place where people care for me and they're going to take care of me and they're providing things that I can enjoy while I'm going through this time, this traumatic experience. And so, we try to take care of them until their family gets restored there and take care of them at the best of our ability.
And John, to add to that, one of the visions that we all share, and, I specifically, love the vision of being a prestigious facility. I want us to be the type of group home or the type of home where when children come there to live, it's a memory and an experience that is positive. They won't forget it. Because a lot of times when you have trauma, you want to forget it. Well, healing from that trauma, the healing that we'll give is this great memory that, wow, I had that opportunity. Someone gave it to me. And I want to tell about it. I want to share it. And when I think of prestige, I always share this with the staff. I think of that I want to envision a friend's house being the Cadillac of group homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it's prestigious, and that's what you think of. So at some point, someone can literally say, I was at the Cadillac of group homes.
There you go. Amen. Absolutely.
We want people to model their group home after ours.
Exactly.
That's a good segue to the next question that I've got. And this is going to kind of turn the focus to our listeners a little bit. And we're going to, before we come back and close, focus back on a friend's house again. But, our hope in this podcast with what we're trying to do is we're trying to share stories with folks where not only does it, for the organizations we feature, hopefully generate some support for you, but also that your stories inspire, and maybe there are some of the things that you've done that others can use in their journeys, towards success. So if you were, speaking to someone who was starting a nonprofit organization, or had a fairly young organization, what would you tell them, to encourage them and to, best set them up for success?
I think first thing I would do is just let people know your needs, really. Sandra and I were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah.
It's basically you have not because you ask not.
Yes.
And we've done that. Actually, this past week we did, and we had some community sponsor that we needed some MP3 players that had some therapeutic use, and I said, just talked to a couple people. I said, hey, we need 10 MP3 players, and this morning they brought in 10 MP3 players. And so, you've got to get out what your needs are And there's a large group of people that are going to feel that in their heart they want to meet that need.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And then, another piece to that, that I could probably play off of what Mr. Bill is explaining about, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, but also serve in your community.
Yes.
It's very important that not only being a recipient of items or financial support or, whatever it may be, we also want to pay it forward and serve. We want to help others. Sometimes, if we have an abundance, it's just evident that we share with others, that we give. One thing in particular, April is Prevent Child Abuse Month. That's the month that we want to acknowledge that. So we promote the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign within our community. We let people know how important it is to remain vigilant, about preventing child abuse. And that all was, I guess, a spiral from our connections with Prevent Child Abuse Henry. And each year, we make it a point to reach out to them and to say, we're here to support. We're going to wear blue. We're going to put out pinwheels. We're going to post it on our Facebook. We're going to do everything humanly possible to get our community involved. So,
Excellent.
Sandra said something about when we had our surplus, and this was really exciting to me, was we did have a lot of, we were very blessed by having a lot of gifts, and we found out that there was a need for a group home in Sierra Leone. And so we were able to send toiletries, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and other things to them because they had that need. There were 6 boys, and it was just a great feeling to say, yeah, we've been blessed to bless others, basically, is kind of our philosophy with that. And so that's just exciting, reaching across halfway around the world.
and Mr. Bill made it a teachable moment too for the youth who reside at a friend's house. They felt empowered to be able to not just receive, but to give.
Right.
Because when you're in a situation such as they are, where they've had to leave their stuff sometimes, and they come with just the clothes on their back at times when they've been abandoned, and to be able to give back or create gifts for people that, you know, they never thought they'd be able to do it, it's a huge, huge impact on the youth.
Certainly, certainly. And fulfilling for those who are a part of making it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the Sierra Leone example, that's, you know, not to be too cliche, but, you know, think globally, act locally, and, you know, you impacted globally.
Yes.
That is amazing. That's, I think, a neat part, amazing part of y'all's story. Well, so piggybacking off of that, are there some, whether it's funding, whether it's specific skill sets among volunteers, is there something that you would like to say, hey, if somebody's out there that can do this, we'd love for you to talk to us?
How much time do we have? You know, no, we have quite a few projects that we're working on. We always have a need to have people help us sort through donations and organize our clothing closet to keep up with, you know, this is the spring and this is what our teenagers want to wear versus this is the winter. You know, they may wear the same thing, but, you know, it's got to have the right tag on it. Plus, we always get in toiletries and things like that, cleaning supplies that we need to sort through and place those. We have landscaping help that we need. We have volunteers that are help at our front desk, and we have the weekend meals too that are very important. We also would like to see if we'd have any people who would like to sponsor activities for the kids. It was very successful at Christmas time. We were able to have some sponsors we took the kids to the Georgia Aquarium and to Wildlife Safari, which was, you know, some things that they wouldn't normally get to do, but we had people reach out and say, you know, I'd like to sponsor this trip. And it was so meaningful to the kids. You know, you have some sort of cow that you've never seen before stick his nose up in your window and lick you, you know. And they came back with all sorts of stories, but we try to provide activities every month for them. And so you can imagine that's costly, really, for 15 to 20 young people.
So with these opportunities and needs that you have, for folks that feel called, to support a friend's house, how should they get in touch with you guys?
Okay, they can get in touch with me at bcox@afriendshouse.org, and I'll send them a volunteer application and a records check. I'd love for them to come by with an appointment, and we just sit down and talk. And I can show them the facility, so can kind of see where they would like to plug in with us too.
And also to add, Mr. Bill is our guru editor with our monthly newsletter. So if, there's a Henry County resident or someone beyond Henry County that wants to stay in contact and connect even with the Friends House, they can also get in touch with Mr. Bill regarding our monthly newsletter called the AFH Beacon. And that newsletter usually will provide them with an influx of information such as what our needs are. It gives some inspirational pieces that's featured each month on there. So we want to definitely get that out. It's sent out, I think, virtually,
today.
email.
Yes.
Even if someone doesn't have an email, we're able to put it in an envelope and slap a stamp on it and mail it to you, so it will definitely help us to keep our relationship open with our community members.
Excellent. Well, one more time for our listeners, where can they find you online, on social media? How can they find you guys to get in touch with you?
We're at www.afriendshouse.org. Our Facebook page is A Friend's House, and everything that we have, signing up for weekend meals, for birthday buddies. Our newsletter is on Facebook page as well. We email it out to our mailing list.
Excellent. Well, Bill, Sandra, I can't thank you guys enough for spending this afternoon with me. Thank you for the service, and please share that with your board and your staff. Thank you for what you do for our county, and hopefully some folks got to hear your story today that haven't heard it before, and that's going to encourage them to do some good in the world as well. So thank you both so much.
Thank you
John.
so much for
Appreciate
having
it.
us, John.
Absolutely. Thanks to all our listeners. We'll look forward to being back next month, and make it a great day.